Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the MindShare podcast. On today's show, we are going to be joined by our first guest of the year. And the goal, well, it's to be real, to have a real conversation. And as usual, say and talk about the things that most people won't and don't talk about. But, well, hey, somebody has to. So let's do this. This is episode number 373. He's the publisher of Real Estate Magazine and the founder of Just Sell Homes. After working as an agent, a trainer, a consultant, and a marketer, he built REM into the leading independent media platform for Canada's real estate industry. He's known for cutting through trends and teaching the strategies that actually create deals, clients, and long-term trust. And he speaks across North America on attention, authority, and modern real estate marketing. He's also a longtime buddy of mine in this industry who I know and trust is connected to behind-the-scenes conversations that most people don't hear. Joining me on this episode of the MindShare podcast is a longtime friend of mine, Andrew Fogliato. Andrew,
thanks for having me on. You
buddy,
got the name right and everything.
I was gonna do the whole like Fogliato, just like most people do, but I'm like, but I know the guy. I just
got it right. Good.
What's going on, man?
Not too much. That's a good intro. Did I send that intro? That intro made me sound great, or is that?
Yeah, I mean, you sent it. I polished it slightly. I just a little tweak to it. Nothing crazy.
I was tweaking my intros. I always find it uncomfortable when people read it and you're sitting there. So like some of my versions over the years have had versions where it's like, and he also likes making people, where like you always add the what they do in their spare time bit. I add in the like, and in his spare times, he likes making people read bios that are uncomfortably long that keep random.
It's funny, man. And you totally get this, but I know for me, I say that to the team all the time where I'm sitting there like waiting to go on stage and they start reading your bio to you and you're thinking like, stop reading the bio. This is just uncomfortable for me. Never mind, Yeah.
Well, that's what I find like having Joe. Like I did another one at an event, which I really enjoyed, which was the beginning of the bio is like welcoming my good friend.
Yeah.
And the end of the bio was like, even though I've never met him. It was like at the end, it was like, and sometimes he likes people to pretend to be his friend who have never met him before so they can read his intro.
I could have gone one better and done read off the last part that says, but he knows me so he can say whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And that's where I started to get confused. They're like, well, geez, I got a lot I could say, but I don't know if I should be saying these things here right now.
It's fine. It's fine.
My man, it's good to have you back on the show. It's very good to have you back on the show. Before we get to anything tactical, and I do want to say that we've got a Team Canada going into the third period of a tied hockey game right now on an elimination day where they're supposed to win the entire thing. So for anybody that's listening to this live, thank you for joining us. Obviously, we're more excited than the hockey game is, so we thank you. We're going to try to make this exciting for you too. In saying that as well, though, attention. I don't know about you, man, but I know that I've got the game on, so I'm going to be kind of hopefully paying a little bit of attention.
On the side.
Yeah, I mean it's there.
Otherwise, just randomly throughout it, you just me going,
yeah, and people are like, whoa, what did he say? What was so exciting about that?
Think about what we did over a pint. I had to cut 30 minutes because we started talking Leafs and Raptors.
I remember that, man. Trust me, I remember that. Although that got out of control because it was over a pint. Bracket S exclamation mark. Close bracket. But seriously, people, I think when I set the stage here, people are tired of the bullshit out there. There's a lot of bullshit out there. I know I'm tired of the bullshit out there. And I know that you're plugged into brokers, you're plugged into brands, you're plugged into boards, you're plugged into agents, like the whole ecosystem. You've done a fantastic job of being plugged into, and I know you got a lot of really great relationships with a lot of awesome people. If you had to describe the industry right now, like in one word, if we said it, like, and not to be polite, not to be political, but like, honestly, how would you describe it right now?
I think you need to differentiate between like the organized side of the industry and then like agents day to day, right? Like, the agents on the ground day to day is much different than like what you see at the like organized volunteering committee levels, right? Like and a lot of them there's surprisingly little overlap in a lot of parts of it. So it depends, which side are you asking about?
Hey, well, you know what? I think I want to dive into all of it. Because again, there's like we say, there's like a lot of the same conversation that happens across the board in so many different levels of the game. But then again, it obviously changes. And we talk about, if it's, people spinning out market updates, or people talking about recruiting, or people talking about awards, or like new technology, and AI is like the big bright shiny object, which I want to get to a little bit later. But you're behind the curtain. Like, okay, let's talk with leadership. Okay. When we think about leadership positions right now, what are they talking about when agents aren't in the room?
Most of it is just, how do we get them to want to be in the room and listen? I think and this is not a new thing. Like, if you remember back when, like, we would have met early days of like the Emerge conference series, do it like 10 years ago, right? Like, back then it was, how do we get them to understand what we're doing? Like the amount, and you especially see it with REM, where we're covering a lot of what's happening, of what they're doing, and the amount of just like stuff they put out that's just like people's comments that are just wrong. Like, it's just, they got the facts 100% backwards of like what they like. The amount of people that think like you get elected as a CREA director and you can cancel the ORWP, or it's like when the RICO stuff and iPro was happening, they're like, okay, great, maybe the new RICO person can shut down ORWP, right? It's like, that's not in their purview. That's not something they can do. So like the biggest thing is literally just that. And then the other one that's happening is, where does like what they're doing, their responsibilities to the industry end, and like the brokerages pick up? And there's a lot of discussions and debates of where that should be. Like, education's the perfect one for that, because a lot of brokerages, they see like educating and training their agents as their responsibility, and the boards and associations getting into that as like trying to hurt their competitive advantage, right? So like that, they see like almost in competition when they're providing education. Now the flip side of that, if they don't provide education, then we have agents who aren't as good running around out there. And now that can lower the whole brand if you have people who aren't trained kind of doing a good job. So it's kind of that, trying to find that balance across all, because there's so many different models and things like that, that it is a very tough job to be a leader in organized real estate, because it's all your kind of the people you're there are directly competing with each other and trying to get a leg up. So it is actually a tough job for them to have, where you're balancing a lot of competing interests. So they really like, a big is like, how do you get them more engaged? How do you get them talking more? How do you get them know what we actually do?
It's politics, right? Like realistically speaking, and I mean, and I'm not going down this sort of federal, conversation today, but I'd say that, it doesn't matter what side of the what side you're on, what color you kind of back into or support. The reality is, if the red gets switched for the blue's still going to have this time ahead of them to even be able to make any changes. It doesn't happen overnight. And I think that you raise a really good point there, is that, we've got some really good people in some really great leadership positions that have the right head on their shoulders. They've got the right intentions about what they're doing. They're doing it for the right reasons. And I mean, I know, again, I won't get specific to who's today, just because whatever, but I could say like there's people that have just taken specific seats that have the right intentions on, and they're looking to do the right things, but it's not able to happen overnight, right? Like whatever that whole term is about, a ship in the night or something, and what it takes.
Well, this is the thing, right? Like everything you do, there's going to be some people who aren't great at it or don't have the best intentions, but the vast majority, I've been to enough industry events. I'm sure you've been to as many or more than I have as well. Like most people get involved. They're just genuinely good people. It's just maybe how they're going about it is different than how you'd go about it, or their belief around something is different, but they're still trying to do what they think is best for the industry.
Right.
It's just that might not always align with what you think is best for the industry. And this is back to like, how do you kind of represent the interests of vastly different people? Like, because it's not just they're looking at full-time real, like they have to look at everyone with a license as who they're serving. And those are very different groups that you're going to have at every end. So it is it's not a job I would necessarily, like, for example, I would not necessarily want to be the head of an association, in real estate, just because that's a lot more politics than I would enjoy.
It's tough, but look, the reality is there's no way you're going to serve everybody. You're just not going to please everybody. You can't, and you're not going to fix everything for everybody. And you're not going to be looked at by everybody in the best way. Like these things are real. It's life. But I want to touch on a topic that you just brought up a moment ago there, when you talked about the brokerages feel it's their responsibility for training, and then get some of the boards and associations kind of getting involved in this stuff. And we know publicly there's been some riffs out there about the differing opinions of what makes sense and what doesn't. But to that, I'd say, why do so many brokerages now still treat training like an optional expense instead of part of infrastructure? Because we look at so many of them go, oh, my agent should pay for that, my agent should do that, that's not my responsibility. Because and listen, I'll support part of that to the broker and go, I get it. You're in the position saying, if I go pay for it, they don't show up anyway. So for me, it's a waste of money. And I look and say, well, at the same time that I just kind of supported your thinking on that, I would argue that and say, by investing in your agents, by investing in your business, you're looking to grow your biggest assets, which are your agents. You're trying to help make them better. Now it's a matter of what are you offering? But too often we're getting brokerages that are like, oh, I'm going to do this internally. I'm going to have my managers do it. I'm going to have some of my top agents do it. They're not going to spend money on it. Therefore, the value that they're offering is not there. And overall, every time they think about spending money, they look at it as an expense. Why is it? What are you suggesting to them about the thought process they take to that?
This is where I really look at the model itself. Like, I think some brokerages, their biggest value proposition is that training, right? Like coaching, training. Like, I think you could create a very good brokerage model that is essentially just a coaching company where you hang your license. Like, I think that is a very legitimate and probably a very profitable brokerage model. Other brokerage models are literally just cheapest we can get, butts and seats, no training. If you want anything extra a la carte, go buy it somewhere else. We're just here for butts and seats. I think what we need to kind of establish is, like, what's the minimum allowed at a brokerage? Like, what's that floor of training, which should basically be that continuation of don't get sued, treat your clients well. And that's maybe what the argument of what boards should be providing too, as a degree as well. But I think if you're a brokerage who wants to do training seriously, like, you do invest. And I think it would be good if all the managers were qualified to do that, if that's in their job description. But a lot of them, they have to manage and provide feedback on everything. And they have to do recruiting and retention. And like, there's just too much on their plate to develop a good training program. Like, an impactful training program today is not an easy thing to build out on its own. Right. Like, or they can go and hire someone to kind of come in and help. But it's then knowing how to leverage that, if you're doing it, to increase your bottom line. Right. Like, a lot of people will build a great training program and then never talk about it. And then no one knows. Like, the easiest brokerage marketing tool is get a new recruit, train them, coach them. They grow their business or improve by some other metric that matters to them. Like, I get more time with my family. I increase my margin, but maybe my business didn't grow, but I've improved by X amount. Advertise that result to people who also want that result. You get more people in, you get them the result, you advertise the result, you just keep feeding that in. Like, at the end of the day, it is the simplest brokerage marketing tool ever. But you got to be able to get them the results and document it. And just so many get those results, they just don't document or talk about it.
You couldn't be more right about that too. I know that. I mean, with us, like, we've got that training program. We've got that complete end-to-end solution. One thing I've noticed though, and again, this is something we work hard at doing, and we're always looking to make improvements and make sure it's clear. But to what you just said is results. Can you prove results? And then can people look at that and say, hey, I want to emulate that. I want to do the same thing. Wow, will this work for me? And I think that you're right. This is where, again, we come back to the value that we add. So here, if we think about the brokers for a moment here and look beyond just the training, but look at the value prop that they're bringing to the table. We just came off of the thick of holiday season. We're sort of into this idea of like awards season. A lot of the brokerages have been sort of running through that gamut right now. What do you think about all these big flashy parties? Like, is this the name of the game? Is this what brokers need to be doing to attract, or is that a lot of smoke and mirrors?
I don't necessarily think you need to do it to attract people. I think there's a lot of value from a retention play because it's community building. You're getting them out. You're getting them basically not want to leave because they don't want to lose the relationships that they have there. So from a retention play, like if I was owning a brokerage, would I do like necessarily a big flashy one? Maybe not, but I'd look at who are my people, what type of event would they want to do? Like similar to like you've coached a lot of agents. You know, most of the time you're like, who's your ideal client? And essentially it's some variation of anyone with a pulse. And that's a lot of brokerages. If you're talking to them about their marketing and you're like, who's your ideal agent? It's any agent with a pulse and a license. And sometimes it's not even the license part. They're like, I'll help them get it.
Right. Yeah.
So it's the same, like, okay, is like, for example, there's a brokerage I know, part of Ontario, where like their ideal recruit does 2 to 6 deals a year because they are a low cost, low effort. It's all like, that's their goal. Like that's all they want. So every offering they have is just for this very narrow focus group. So it's a great option for someone like that. But they'll even acknowledge if you go outside of that, there are better places for you. Whereas like other brokerages are built for those people who are doing 20, 30, 40, 50. And that's their goal. And then some have like different tiers. Like I was at a brokerage where depending on the size of your business, like changed which trainings at the office you were even allowed to go to. So they would set up like, okay, if you're between 0 and 250,000, here's the trainings for you. 250 to 5 are here. And they kind of tiered it up that way because they know it's different challenges at each point. And they, for them, mapped out where are the plateaus that people have in their business. All right, so we're going to have the training for that group here, this group here, and this group here. And it's no different. Like similar to how like I think agents should pick a niche and work it. So should brokerages. And like, who are they?
Well, okay. So as we talk to the brokerages, like are most of these brokers that you're seeing, that you're talking to, do you find that most of them truly operate as business owners, or is it just kind of, trying to build a recruiting machine?
It's a mix. Yeah. I mean, some recruiting is just having like, it's like agents, right? Like there's some who have a really refined business. Others, it's just kind of throwing stuff at the wind. And a lot of them are just subsidized by their own sales. Like the broker owner is still out there doing sales and they would actually probably be losing money or breaking even if they weren't doing that.
Yeah, we find a lot of them. I mean, I know a lot of them are struggling with, we talk recruitment, retention, margins right now. Somebody said it to me recently about, they're good agents starting to age out and how the younger agents are, their networks aren't just in a position of affordability at the moment. What would you say, like in today's market, then, when we think about the brokerage landscape and sort of think to ourselves, moving forward, what's really separating the brokers that are sort of moving ahead and growing versus the ones that are beginning to fall behind? Because I think it's real. We're seeing some starting to really fall behind.
I mean, the ones that I see that have their number, and this is not this is more anecdotal. The ones that seem to be retaining the most, production doing well, do have that strongest sense of community, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean in-person community. Like I've seen some that are kind of more virtual style that also foster that sense of community among their people. But it's that like, okay, I'm in this with other people. I can kind of commiserate with them and find solutions to what's going on. Because like if you're kind of feeling like you're operating in an island in the market that's been really tough to get deals in, that's a lot harder than if you have people around you who you truly feel have your back. And that's like more than so much of like all the other stuff. It's who has my back. Like I was talking to an agent who like kills it online, like absolutely kills it online. So she doesn't need a brokerage that provides training on sales and marketing. Like that part she has locked down. She changed brokerages because a broker that came to her open house, they were chatting and she happened to mention an issue she was having. And she had the brokerage's in-house counsel call her and help her out. And she wasn't even an agent yet. And it was just, we dealt with this already with an agent of ours. Let me have my counsel call you and walk you through what you need to do. And like 6 weeks later, she ended up leaving her brokerage and going there. And she's like, I would never leave. Like, and it was just because of that. Yeah. It's like, that's the type of thing where like they have their back. They know they're there for them. But like a lot of, like I was at a broker owner event not that long ago. And it was kind of this, all right, how can we provide more tech to our agents? If you're going after producers, they don't want tech from you.
That's
right. Like if I went back to sales, say like there is not a chance I would use my brokerage's tech. I would not touch their website. I would not touch their CRM. Like if I was starting out, maybe I would just from a keep my costs low, use it as a baseline, couple things like that. The second I got up to like 200 grand a year, even in GCI, I would be moving to all my own stuff. And
Buddy, we saw that in a big way when there was the recent major announcement, one brokerage moving, brands, and naturally just being kits, we had a lot of people calling up like, struggling and scared because, they were locked into what the brand was offering and then went, oh my God, I got to switch everything, like even my URL, my email address. And you're going, okay, yeah, but there's the issue with using what you've got tied back to your brand.
Actually, I have it on my to-do list to write blog, or not a blog, but an article for REM around like how to protect yourself against your brand changing or your brokerage changing. Like I got, when I sold, my brokerage got acquired. Luckily, it was within the same brand. So it actually made it fairly smooth. But like I've worked at head office. I've worked with a lot of agents on their marketing, which then when that happens, and REM especially, we see it all the time, is like there is that panic initially because you have to make a lot of decisions really fast and you don't know what you're going to lose and how like amicable that split's going to be with the former one, right?
It's like tough, man.
It's like for example, when I sold, I was with Remax. My domain for a while was sellwithremax.com.
Yep.
So if we had
but that becomes a problem, then you move and it's like, what do I do now? And now I also have to update everybody with what I'm doing.
And at least I owned that email. So like I could, if we had been acquired by a different brand, which luckily we were acquired within Remax, so I didn't have to change that. If we had, I could have just switched it and said like, okay, I'm going to forward this email to myself because I can't use the Remax name anymore, but that email still exists. So auto forward everything. I won't advertise it to my new one. But I couldn't use Andrew Fogliato because no one could spell my name if I tell them.
People can barely pronounce the name. Yeah, exactly. So split that though, and say, if we take this out of the broker angle now and kind of, again, as we move sort of, through the ranks here and say from an agent perspective, what are you suggesting that the agent should be looking for in a broker?
Yeah, it depends where you are in your business, right? Like if you're a agent doing 200 deals a year, you're not there for training and like the group trainings that are there. Maybe you want a mastermind with other top producers likely, or you want some sort of introduction to others within the brand that maybe aren't necessarily at your office that are at your level. But like if your broker hasn't sold in 20 years or ever, and the training program is built for people doing like 0 to 20, 0 to 30, 0 to 40, the challenges you have are very different. So at that point, it's like, okay, you got my back on legal stuff. You got my support when I need it. You're going to make this easy for me to build a team and expand. Like what they need is very different than what people at different stages need. So this goes back to picking your niche of, if you're going to look, you got to look for the brokerage that fits what you need right now. And that's then there's not a one right answer to that.
No, I was about to say that's a loaded one. And I think that if I look at that, I think coming back to even what you said about with, legal counsel was in touch and helped out. I mean, I come back to culture, and you mentioned that when we talked about the parties, culture and connectivity, I would look at number one for me is, okay, who is the manager? Who is the person that I'm going to be, that's going to be my contact over there? How responsive are they? How much do I get along with them? Do I like them? Can I see this person being my support mechanism? You said
I have a good story on this if you want one.
But like the tools from the brand are not everything. The reality, the party is not everything, but that support that you get,
it's all part of it,
number one. So you were sharing there.
Like, so I had my old broker. Her name was Barb Brindle. If you know her, she's great. Mm-hmm. So she, I'll give you an example why, if I ever went back to sales, which I have no intention of doing, to be clear, I would go wherever she is, even if it was Barb Brindle Realty and she's agent of the only one there. And I tell this story often is early in my career, she was my broker. And I don't know for sure that I did this, but possibly. I think we left the door unlocked at a showing in the back door.
Oh,
I don't know for sure that I actually did. I'm not confident. But anyways, the agent called her, and it just happened. My office was across the hall from my broker's office. And all I hear is her tearing into a guy on the phone for being unprofessional and rude and like just absolutely. I'm like, whoever called to complain to her about something is probably regretting it because she has someone's back hard.
Yeah.
And then I hear her hang up the phone, get up, walk across the hall, close the door to my office, and then basically just said, Andrew, let me talk to you about why you're an idiot. It was perfect. I was like, had my back and then told me why I was wrong. And like, again, it's possible that we did actually leave the back door. Not something I would normally do. It's certainly possible we did, but the agent basically called to rip me a new one to her, and she had my, and it was like back. A lot of things like that happened with her, where it's just like, I saw how she had people's backs. And for me, that's what mattered to me, is like, that was someone, no matter what, I know they're in my corner.
It's a great point, because it reminds me of a story of when I first got into the business. And I remember doing a sales presentation. The manager walked me out to my car after, just chit-chatting. And an agent was pulling on his sort of like sleeve, like, I got to talk to you, and kept trying to interrupt. And the manager wasn't having anything of it, ignoring the guy. And finally got to a point where I'm like, hey man, what's up? I figured I'll acknowledge the guy. And he's like, the manager's like, I told you I'll be with you in a minute. And the guy's like, he turns to him, he's just like, I got my first deal. He was all excited. And the manager looked at him and said, I told you I'll be with you in a minute. And I thought, oh, no. And I gave the guy a big high five. I'm like, congrats. I looked at the manager. I stuck my hand out. I exited stage left. I got the hell out of there, because I'm thinking, buddy, this is a moment for you right now. You need to support this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And unfortunately, I think that's the big missing link, is that connection with another human being, which we know is really the gold in this business. It's no different from a broker to their agent, manager to their agent, or for what an agent should be looking for, in my mind, of what the ultimate reason is that you would choose a particular brokerage. Because I hear it all the time. Oh, they're going to support me. Oh, they're going to help me. And then they don't get the help or the support they needed. And now they're left looking for other options. And I mean, if all you're doing is sitting there saying, hey, I'm going to go based on who's going to give me the most leads, or, the best split. I also, again, look, if you're looking for discount brokerage, maybe that's your thing. Maybe that's, your business model, but I don't think it's necessarily the way to go. I think people need to look at that connection, and from both sides. The agent needs to look for connection, and the broker manager, like leadership team, needs to also be very cognizant about the connection they're creating with those people. And there's your recruitment and retention.
Yeah. And it all comes down to who's your ideal agent that you want there, and building out a plan for them. Like, maybe you are that guy, for example. Let's say hypothetically, they don't typically bring on new agents who ever do their first deal. Maybe there's no process in place on how to congratulate. Like, yes, should have been excited, should have been involved, but like, let's say they only really work with people who do 20 plus deals a year. They don't have a process to celebrate the person who got their first deal. Whereas if you're a brokerage that has a lot of those, you should have written out the exact process that happens when someone gets a new deal.
SOPs.
When their first deal comes in, like, you want to have like congratulatory message out to everybody. You want to like have a handwritten letter sent from the owner, or even like, if you're at a brand, can you get the president of the brand who could send a note to them? Like, what can you do to make that extra special for that? Like, it took me 6 months to get my first deal, and like, they made a deal of it. Like, they made a point to like offer a lot of congratulations for getting that deal, and stuck home.
You know what? And you remember it, and you stick with it, and it means something to you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Before we dive any deeper, I want to make sure that we mention that this episode of the MindShare podcast is brought to you by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, your ultimate marketing and lead generation CRM. If you are in real estate, you need Kits. And REM Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier magazine for real estate professionals and industry stakeholders for news, analysis, and commentary on Canadian real estate. While listening, head over to mindsharewhat101.com, grab your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle. And of course, if you're ready to grow your business with coaching, group training, or want to bring momentum training to your office, get in touch. All right. Jumping back in here, Andrew. I kind of wanted to go to this angle of association and politics, kind of where we almost opened up today. And kind of just come back to that for a minute and I guess sort of go, are the associations protecting the profession, or do we see that a lot of them are really protecting their infrastructure and their jobs?
I mean, I think they're trying to protect it, but again, it's a hard one to do because there's so many competing interests. I think that's ultimately where the biggest kind of disconnect happens, is they just as much, like, think of like the Toronto Real Estate Board, where it's like 70% do under 4 deals, and it's like 40 of that is 0.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Those are equal members by all standards to the other side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you are an equal standing member and you have to be represented equally, how do you build it out for the group here and the group here when it's directly at odds? So things like that are tough for them to pull off. And I get that kind of challenge. So like when we look at it through REM, I'll give you a good example.
Yeah.
We look at it as we serve professional full-time realtors. That's what we are targeting, is like, if you are taking this, but it doesn't mean you're necessarily doing a certain number of deals, but you have the mindset of, I take this seriously as
professional full-time realtor. I like that. Yeah.
That's who we serve. So if you are I do one deal a year in my spare time, we're not trying to create anything for you. Unless your goal is, I'm switching now that mindset and going full-time. Then you can jump into our world. But they have to treat that differently because they're all equal standing members. So I think that's where a lot of that disconnect happens, is they're trying to kind of protect the larger group, represent that larger group, and that's always going to end up with some of them being alienated.
And we've certainly seen that at different levels. I mean, you just mentioned Shreb. We know where there's been, different differences of opinions along the way. But again, when we talk to any one of these, these associations, I mean, here, I'll go to CREA. Do you think CREA's setting up to sell leads back to agents?
No. I think it's even in their bylaws that they're not allowed to.
So the whole thing about what they've done with Realtor and the fact that they're starting to run ads, and you don't see that coming down the pipeline, about it's being it literally being its own entity.
I think they will monetize in other ways. I don't think they will to agents. It's literally right. Like, it's still owned by CREA. Like, I think this is one of those things where there's this misconception that's what's going to happen. I don't think it will. You would need a major change, and I think everyone, if they made that change, who's on a board and employed, would lose their job, because the backlash among members would be so strong that people, like, heads would roll if they started selling back to realtors. So I'm not concerned about that. I think the bigger concern is, like, what are the partnerships they're doing? How does that impact lead flow? Like, there are things like, for example, they have options now to refer to mortgage brokers. Like, there was one that they tested out for a bit. Well, what happens when the lead goes to the mortgage broker and then that mortgage broker starts sending those leads to an agent? Like, are there safeguards in place where now there's preferential treatment going for that type of thing? But
it'll be interesting to see. I mean, here, I would ask this one too then. Do you think that, what do you think the future between Shreb and CREA looks like? Are they going to continue to work together, or are they both setting up for war about who's going to deliver sort of more value for the agent going forward? Because again, as we look at what CREA is doing, and we look at what, Shreb, PropTechs, and obviously some changes there that have happened, what do you think the future there looks like? Are they battling with each other? Are they at war? Are they working together?
Battling might not be the right terminology. I think it's more jostling for whose lane is whose, right? Because at the end of the day, like, they could provide a lot of different services. Like, if you are the TREB, like, obviously you have to lobby the city of Toronto and the other cities that encompass TREB. AREA would be doing Queen's Park. CREA would be doing federally. Really, TREB doesn't need to be involved in the federal stuff because that's CREA's main job. So, hold on one second. So when you're looking at that, it's like, I think it's more or less like we're fighting for who's lobbying the federal. It's just like, where's the stuff like educational webinars and stuff like where does TREB provide it? Where does CREA provide it? Where does AREA provide it? And like, why are we duplicating the effort across all three sometimes? Like, maybe there are those savings if there's more coordination, or just two of the three back off, and which ones that's the jostling for them to figure out. I wouldn't necessarily call it a war. I mean, there are certainly, if you've been in the rooms, you've been in those rooms before, you will see that it's not always a pleasant conversation between the different parties. Where those
That's
things
why I raised
land.
the question over here.
Yeah,
right?
like it is.
You call it jostling. There's a battle, but there's something.
Yeah, and like a lot of it is more maneuvering. And like, let's be honest here. Like, at the end of the day, with the size of TREB's voting share, at the end of the day, it's pretty much what TREB wants, they will get. Like, There's not really another way to say that. Like in Ontario, I think it's like they have 49% of the vote share, and that's what they're capped at. But then they also have their partner boards that puts them over 50, and I believe it's over 40% of the Korea vote. I could be wrong on that one, but it's still a very high percentage. Like essentially, if you want to get something through, you have to have Treb's vote, or you basically have to get 100% of everybody else to vote with you.
Yeah.
So they do have an outsized say, but at the same time, if you look at agent counts, they also have the majority of the agents. So
they do.
But
they do. It's just it's
interesting. If you want to
the way
get something through Aria, you want to get something through Korea, it goes through Treb.
Well, let's talk to Aria for a moment, because I know this has come up. Some people have asked the question, and I thought I'd just bring it up, and I don't say that I take opinion on it. But some people have asked the question of what value does Aria deliver anymore? And I thought I'd bring that up today. And just, like, what do you? Yeah, well, the forms are there. You know,
I mean,
what do you think? What are they delivering?
So I mean,
are they still necessary?
Yes, but maybe not in everything they do. Like I think the first one's like I don't think you can discount how good they have historically been at provincial lobbying. Especially when Hudak was in charge and his relationship with Doug Ford. Like there's been a lot of people in government relations roles who have been spectacular. Like they've done a really good job behind the scenes that they don't even always get credit for. On the provincial lobbying front, that I think that they've historically always been very good. I think obviously the forms are pretty great for what they need to do. Past that, like ORWP, they are doing that and providing that, whether that is a lot of people argue one way or the other, whether they should have or the value of it. But at the same time, like it wasn't Aria's decision to bring it in. If you want to start getting into the weeds of it, it was like the boards told them to bring it in and they had to do it. Like it's a funny, like every time a new like Aria, someone gets like, okay, are you guys going to get rid of this? I'm like, it's not their call. Like the boards have to tell them to get rid of it if they want to get rid of it. Like it gets into the weeds of it, but like I think there's a lot of value.
Gets into the weeds.
Yeah, but like for me, I think the bigger debate in terms of like relevance is more around like, okay, like should they be hosting conference series, right? Like reality, we already know that's I think it's a good idea to do it. I think if you were to really look at it, I would probably say like maybe Aria and Treb should like combine into like some version of Realtor Quest and Reality as one, or do like bring back Emerge, like the one that we used to do. I like people loved that event, and it was a great opportunity. Yeah,
we used to do that together.
Like it brought a lot of like new voices into the industry, brought it throughout the province. Like I think there's value and stuff like that, and they were never revenue neutral, was my understanding, in the sense of they always covered their costs. They weren't losing money on them, so they were very popular events. So like personally, if an association can find a way to like get sponsors and partners to fund more initiatives, then do them. Why not? Like you have this there, but
I think we're poised for something. You know, there's not really I think that the conference landscape itself could use a fresh face in it. We've seen a lot of the same over the past little bit. And I think it's certainly become stale.
They're tough. Like,
they're very expensive
for sure. I was looking, I'll give you a good example. I used to do my Blue Mountain conference, if you remember.
Yep.
I used to be able to put that on for about 20,000 pre-COVID for like the size we did. And that's with like very little on like just straight like room rental, food and that stuff. Exact same event in 24, I got a quote and I wanted 60,000 with 50 up front.
Yeah, but I mean, listen,
that changes the math a lot.
Yeah, we were skiing the other day at Mount St. Louis Moonstone, and for a thing of potato wedges, a hot dog, and chicken fingers and fries, it was $44.
Yeah,
like so, it's the prices are crazy on everything these days.
We're looking at eventually, like we want to do events with REM, but I mean, now to do it in a way that it makes sense, because like, yes, I lost money every year when I did Blue Mountain, but that's because we gave all the proceeds to charity. Yeah. And I knew I could make it up on the back end with the agency where enough people would come, end up becoming clients that in the long run, they were worth it. And it was usually for a good cause, which was great. But because events are so much more expensive now, The economics have changed. Like for me to launch events in a way that I would be happy with them, I need more infrastructure. Like I need, more sales reps. I need an events person.
People
like
power.
and that's not a small investment to jump into.
It's
so
a
like
small
we're
investment these days.
Like now we're doing our virtual events to start. Like we're doing the REM Mastermind. We have that one today at 2 p.m. is the second one. And we're going to do that every month. And those are like some really cool virtual events. Like we did a virtual event last year for Bruce Johnson where we raised $13,000 for his charity. One of my favorite people.
Yeah.
So
he was awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think we'll probably this year you'll see virtual events from REM and our print magazine coming back. But
that's exciting.
Then I'm pretty pumped about that. And then next year, I don't know if next year we'll do in-person events yet. We'll probably start more like, I think Mastermind is where I actually want to go with events. So more curated, smaller, they're high value events than like the big, like
we've been hosting our Mastermind for 3 years now. And quite frankly, we don't have a date set for this year yet. Because when you come back to cost, time, infrastructure of putting something on, it is heavy. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, and there's something intrinsic about it when it comes to culture, which you can't buy. And then there's something to be said about like ROI in terms of just time spent and all that other stuff, which becomes sometimes a little prohibitive. But we're working through and trying to figure that out because I'll tell you, the Mastermind is powerful, man. It is a really, really, really special thing. We have some amazing people that come to it. And again, it's a small group and it's it does a lot of stuff. But, as we brought up the idea of money there, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about Rico. And not to go down the rabbit hole with it, but they seem to really be clamping down now. I'm hearing from a lot of different sort of sources that they're really clamping down. If you were an agent being disciplined right now by Rico, how would you feel considering everything that just transpired with, with the whole iPro fiasco?
Depends on what I'm being disciplined for.
Well, I'm just saying, like, they're coming to you and they're like, hey, you did bad. And you're like, but hold on a second, you did bad.
So even the iPro one, like if we take a step back, like ridiculous how it all played out. But at the end of the day, like if you actually look at their decision-making process and you try to like take a step back, they were trying to prioritize getting people their money back. They thought that what they were doing was back to like, they had the best intentions. Like I've seen the conspiracy stuff out there. We get a lot sent to us to a REM. That's a little nuts. I don't think there was some grand conspiracy with the iPro guys to like let them off easy. I think they just said, this is the path that gets the most money back to the agents and make sure the consumers are whole. This is the path that is more punitive to these guys, but higher risk of not everyone getting their money back. And they prioritize this path versus this path. And as we can see, most people wanted this path. And I think of the like stuff around like, they should have been talking to the board about it. They should have been more internally around Rico, all open together. Like that's where I think the errors were, not in the actual like trying to do what they're doing. I think there needs to be a lot of changes in the industry. Like I think risk-based auditing procedures, like if you're a brokerage that has, I'll just make up a number here, roughly 500 agents for one manager, you should be audited a lot more than someone who has like one manager to 50, right? If you have a history of issues, you should be audited more frequently. Like if you find a violation at a brokerage, their audit and like frequency should increase. If you've never had an issue, everything's always been perfect, you have a really good agent to manager ratio, all those things, like, you maybe shouldn't have to do as frequent of an audit. But like if I was a broker owner, I'd probably be getting independent audits now and posting when it was the result and when the next one's scheduled for, as just like that transparent, hey, we're doing it this way to make sure everything's good. But that also adds another layer of expense, time, all that. But I think there's a lot of value in doing that. But I think a risk-based audit system and the exact specifics of like what's the agent to manager ratio, what's that like risk profile, people smarter than me and more involved would have to figure out the specifics around that. But like people were talking about iPro being at risk for a long time. Like even the SaveMax ones that recently had those issues. We've been hearing about SaveMax for like 6-7 months as potentially like these issues coming, and we've been kind of sitting there like waiting for it. So if people were enough already talking about it 6-7 months ago, why did it only happen here?
Yeah.
Right? Like if people can see it, there should be. But that's hopefully what the new people are bringing in, is a better auditing system, a better things that helps prevent it. Because no matter what, there's always going to be bad people who do bad things with money.
Well, yeah,
you can't get rid of that. But
no,
you should
but I
catch
would
it
also
quicker.
throw out there, just to put it out there, that there's also been some very, very good people at the helm of Ricoh that got caught up in the
Yes.
politics of what transpired, had fingers pointed at, and we know these people. We know what kind of integrity they operate with and who they are, and they're great people, and it's unfortunate that so many people were pointing fingers at everybody, but such is the political animal when these things take place.
Yeah.
Now, sorry,
people would have even got unfairly accused of some things that I think was a bunch of BS. But
there's the problem with today's world too, man.
Yeah.
And this is part of my issue with like how much time people spend online and social and the politicking. And, this is a changed world. We never had this back then. We never did, and all of this online and the politicking and everything else. It's like, do we think that we're immune from the consumer seeing it? And I would argue we're not. In fact, I would ask you, how do you think consumers are viewing agents right now? Like not, yeah, they like us and we're good. Like, but I'm talking like, what are you hearing? Do you think that real estate really has a credibility problem that is, happening right now? And, maybe why?
I mean, I don't think they necessarily do differently than 5 years ago. I mean, I think similar to like politics, if you go on Twitter and believe what you read there, you're going to have a much more extreme view of people's opinions than the majority. Like if you go in Reddit and Twitter and certain groups and you ask, what do you guys think of realtors? That's probably not going to be a fun thread to read as a realtor.
Right. Yeah, no.
Definitely. Go out and talk to real people day to day. Most of them will tell you about the realtor they have that they love. That like the good people that they deal with. I think it's just online that certain stuff gets amplified. And like, I know we have to look at it even with stuff we publish with REM. Like, even though we're only for the industry, we don't want consumers reading REM. We only want the industry. Once in a while, articles pop off with consumers. Like there was a Ponzi scheme in Alberta that an agent was at the center of.
Yeah.
And that was like a biggest traffic. Like if you actually look at our numbers, we had 3 times the number of people on our website that month than exist in the industry. Wow. So it's obviously broken containment of the industry. So we have to be careful, like how we think about it, of like, are we beating on this stuff too much? Because that matters. And it's like, that's why we also love to highlight good works of people in the community. At the same time, people don't read those ones as much.
Well, people love the bad news, right? Like it's almost like you'd rather see somebody, instead of watch somebody ride their bicycle for their first time, it's almost like so many people want to see somebody fall off their bicycle and smash their face.
Yeah.
And there's so much human nature that comes to that.
It is about like we look at where's the lessons that we can pull out of it. Where's the like good pieces of that stuff. Like the iPro one's a great example, right? Like we want to focus the conversation more on like, how can the industry prevent this from happening again and do that stuff. We don't need to focus as much time on how the 2 guys probably should be in jail. We know they're criminals. We know allegedly or whatever. I don't know. They are doing their thing. They're bad actors. They're done. The REM conversation, we don't want to necessarily go too hard onto that side, and we want to focus more on, okay, what actually needs to change so that like stuff like this becomes more preventable.
And you're nailing it right there. And I think that's the big takeaway. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's the thing that, and I know I've been talking about that a lot, even on this show, and even in some of my REM columns, right? Like standards. And talking to standards from a leadership position standards, talking to standards from an agent position standards, and encouraging people to look around and look at the landscape and say, okay, if I look around and I see that some people are doing and some people are not doing, or some people are doing things I don't like, or some people are doing things that I really envy, I really love, take stock of it, right? And then have a real honest conversation with yourself and ask yourself, am I doing that? right? Am I not paying attention to the fact that I'm also contributing to some of the negative or some of the bad, or maybe I'm not, but I notice what other people are doing and I go, you know what? I don't want to be that person. And I think that if everybody could take stock in the humanity, and I know that sounds maybe like really fluffy, but what I say it in, like, we're people and it's a people business, and empathy is important, and connection and relationship. Okay. In order to establish that, there's got to be, you got to be polite. You got to be respectful. You've got to treat other people properly. And I think when we're doing that and we're paying attention to those things, if we treat one person well and that person reciprocates, treat us well, there's something good going on. What can we do to then work with that with other people? And then if those people are not doing good or not saying good or to speaking well or whatnot, how can we still keep our standards high to try to through osmosis get more people kind of feeling that way?
And like that, a big thing for us, like with even like the masterminds, because it's top of mind because it's coming up shortly, is like our big thing is we want to actually verify production, and the people that are coming on know what they're talking about. Like we actually go and get production verified on people coming on. Cause like, I'll give you an example. We had someone who reached out about, they wanted to like do a webinar with REM that was like an educational one on a very specific, like essentially lead gen technique that their business was blowing up using. And it sounded great. But the claim they made included a certain number of deals that came from a Facebook group they ran. And I was like, great, show me trade record sheets with names of people in the group. Never heard from them again. No, just disappeared.
See, but that's,
if you're going to make a big claim like that, back it up.
Well, there's the other thing.
We get production. So like, I know if someone's coming on, like this is when we're thinking about like live events in person, even like we want to do events. Like if you come on stage, we are going to verify and publish your production.
There you go.
And if any of your claims are production based, because like some people will come on that it's more about like dealing with burnout and like strategies around that. And it's like, okay, but like your production can still matter to that, because burnout at 2 deals a year versus 100 is a very different thing. And changes what that looks like. So, but for us, like we do want to have that legitimate, like I don't, like you've all seen it, like these people at events who go on stage and they talk about fastest growing realtor ever and like number one on this, number two, and then you go look them up, they do like 3 deals a year. They were fastest growing because they went from 0 last year to 3 this year. That's not like someone to go take lessons from. Right?
Well, we see so much of this though. Like I was about to bring up the topic of integrity. Man, there's so many people in this business that lack it. Yeah. There's so many people.
That's every business. I don't think that's specifically. I think that's just life. There's just a lot of people, and I get the fake it till you make it thing. Like I did it to a degree. I never lied production, but like I get like wanting to appear more successful, and it can do things, but like don't make up claims. Like I've literally seen it where someone has claimed an award that they were awarded this for this accomplishment. And we reached out to the brand and they're like, that award does not exist within our company.
I'm going right down to even the whole, say one thing, do another. The whole idea of, what a handshake used to be and how a handshake used to matter to people. And how people used to follow through on that. If they looked somebody in the eye or shook somebody's hand, that they would actually do that. Let's just talk to integrity in general then. And in general, specific to, I guess, our industry, but what would you say to anyone who you came across that didn't have it?
Depends on how I found out they didn't have it. The classic, everything is it depends, right?
You were a direct result of it.
So, I mean, a lot of the times it depends in the scenario, but I mean, the easiest one is just cut them out and move on. Like, just don't have time to, if it's something where like there's harm and they gotta like, then yeah, you address it and deal with it and get in it. But if it's just like, we've come across people in the industry at events and day to day where you're like, oh, that's not someone I think I would like to associate with anymore. And like there's even event series, like there was an American one I used to go to that I stopped going because I found that there was a certain in crowd at the event series that wasn't for me.
Yep. I'm with you.
Like that happens. Like but sometimes you got to go and meet people and see. And I mean, the biggest thing for me is I just 99% of the time, I don't like make a confrontation. I just go a different direction.
You know what? And I think that's obviously the right response, the right guidance. It's the same way we would teach our kids, and it's the same thing we do need to tell ourselves, no matter when emotions do get the best of you. I'm with you. You know, I am one to want to say it. And you and I both know, without naming names, you know, who comes to mind on those lists. And I think that I won't say the name, but I think that these, you know, whether it's a person, it's a group, it's a conference, you know, whatever it be, you know, when you realize that's been said multiple times, it's like, it's almost like, and this goes for any of us, start taking stock of what's being said and kind of, you know, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself what your standards are like, you know, and don't question others why they keep questioning you, you know, question your standards and ask yourself, maybe you need a little bit of a change.
Yeah, like there's lots of things like that where we just like quietly go the other way and focus my efforts elsewhere. And
that's
at the end of the day, like I think most people are still trying to do the right thing, and
you would hope so.
They're right. And I just
here, speaking of that, changing topics. Yeah. If you were starting fresh as an agent, 2026, knowing what you know now, what would you focus on first, Andrew?
Am I in a brand new market? I'm in my market. Let's set this table.
You literally just started in the business. You got your license. You're all excited. You know, you've been working.
I know what I know from a marketing and sales standpoint, but that's it. Is that what we're saying? That's the
I would say you barely even know marketing and sales. You just, and no, it's not you, Andrew. Okay. It's not your
a brand new agent coming in. Okay.
You're a brand new agent. Yeah. You know, sorry. When I say knowing what you know now, no, it couldn't be what you know now, because that's a whole different thing. You're starting with a ton of experience. We can't do that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Of like, where's that? Okay, so in that scenario, first thing I would do is, before I get into marketing and say, I would make sure I am the subject matter expert in my area. So like, I know the inventory, I know the market, I know, like, I'm going to make myself the best realtor that you could hire. Because that, I think, that was actually a mistake I made when I started, is I got really into the sales and marketing. I got really good at sales and marketing. I was just like an okay realtor. Because I remember someone asked me something about the market, and I was like, oh shit, I have no idea. And that's why I actually then pitched the newspaper to write a monthly market stats column for them. And I did a market report every month for the local newspaper. And that was to force myself to learn it, because I'm like, well, if I'm going to be publishing something every month that goes to the entire town, I better know what I'm talking about. So that's how I forced myself to do it. But that would be my first thing, is just like, know the inventory. Know, like, there was an agent in my office, and I love that she did this and she let me use it, is like, she had every floor plan and sales brochure of every builder who built in our town going back like 50 years, and just like a drawer in her office. And I was like, I know some agents that can stand there at the curb and tell you how many bedrooms, what the layout is, what the floor. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like, think of how much of an expert you go, like, into, like, my neighborhood was built in the 80s. She had like the floor plan for this neighborhood. Like, if you walked into this today, I don't even know what builder model this house is. Like, what was the name of this? I have no idea. But if I had an agent who walked in and I wanted to list this, like, oh, you have the adventure model, I'd be like, oh, like, you know the area,
you know your stuff.
Right? Like, those little things that clue in. So I'd want to make sure I'm the next. Then I would get into, like, obviously I'm going to do a lot of content marketing. I'd probably do stuff like Over a Pint, but with local businesses. But obviously first I'm going to nail down who's my target audience. I'm just going to do what I know, which is young families, because that's what I am right now. So I would probably look, okay, who do they look up to in the market? Who do they deal with? I'm going to go make content with all of them and just get out there, network, join some hobbies type of things. And just look for, like, I always look first at what can I, like, who's essentially trusted by the group I'm going after, and then how can I collaborate with them? What can we do together? How can I earn their trust, their referrals, and then have that transfer to that group?
So what I heard there was really involvement in the community, getting to know the people, getting to know the houses, getting to know the shops, really trying to become a local expert.
And my marketing would be showing all that. Like, I would just essentially, the document what you're doing. It's kind of like that. Like, I would go and, like, okay, I want to learn all the school districts. That's a good thing to know if you're dealing with young families. I would then go and interview every principal at every school in my area and write an in-depth thing about what you need to know about going to this school.
I remember we talked about that one.
Yeah. And like, what are those other, like, an easy one at this age is like, we get invited to birthday parties all the time. There's like 5 places everywhere it goes. And everyone's like, well, we've been at freaking Air Riders 20 times in the last 12 months. Where else is there? Well, create a resource of, here's all the kids' birthday places and our review of them as someone who's been to all of them multiple times, right? Like, these are easy things to do and document that has value.
They're easy. The problem is a lot of people look and say, oh, but it takes too much time, or, oh, it's not going to add value. And I'm with you. I mean, there's a longer play to that. Now, we could talk marketing all day, you and I, but I want to jump to this one here. There's a question I've been asking a lot lately about who will the industry hate in 10 years from now. And it's sort of setting that stage with your blockbuster Netflix and Toys R Us and Amazon and taxis and Uber. Is AI replacing agents? Is it hype? Is it inevitable? What's your take here?
I don't think it's hype. Like, there's obviously some hype to it. Like everything, I think this is one of the legitimate game changers if you're using it the right way. In terms of what can be done with it. It's not going to replace agents, I think. And I mean, there's
why? How do we remain relevant? Yeah, you and I have both been asked that question over the past number of years, many times.
You and I know both, though. Buying and selling real estate is such an emotional process for so many people. Mm-hmm. You want someone and like, think of just like AI slop being the term of like, it's fake, it's enough. Like, you can tell even the comments on posts, and those posts are written that are clearly just been AI, because it's not this, it's this, it's not this, it's this.
Oh my God, you can see it. Like, you could see, you don't even need a magnifying glass anymore.
Yeah. So when you look at that, like, people crave that more. Like, I could even see like verified networks where like you have to join and proven there's no way to do that will increase in value. But I think that connection where, like, if I'm an agent, I would look at how can I use it in the back end. It's same with like every other tool. Like, when DocuSign came out, e-signatures were legalized in Ontario. As someone who's like in the industry for a long time, you're like, oh no, this is a horrible thing. They shouldn't allow it because it's going to take away time from your clients. I'm like, if you're using it right way, it gives you more time with your clients. You should look at like, okay, instead of me having to, go to my client's kitchen table, get their signatures, drive back to the office, fax it, drive back the new, wait for the fax and go back to them and keep doing that. I can just sit at their kitchen table with them the whole night and use DocuSign. But now I'm getting all that FaceTime while we're waiting in between. AI is not that different. It's like, I can use it in the back end to do all these cool things. So I have more time with my clients and I can spend more time on that relationship. And there's some really cool stuff you can do. Like, I did it last night in like 10 minutes. I was inspired by a thing that Chris Smith and Jimmy Mackin did. I had an agent send me their like net proceeds Excel sheet where you can put in like details. 10 minutes, I created an online calculator that you can just go in and it's just shows you all the net like what you net from.
Would you use to build that? Which
Lovable.
Okay.
I just like, we're building it out right now, a bundle pricing kit. So like, for example, I just set it up for the print magazine, the media kit. I fed in the actual Google Doc that was our media kit. Mm-hmm. And it turned into something where you can actually just go in and select the things you want and then send us the message and it'll build the running tally as you go. Like that, like I was showing it to my brother after I built it, who's my partner. And I was like, what I'm just showing you right now, that took me 10 minutes. If I did this before that tool in AI, that would have probably been between 10 to 20 hours of man time between me and multiple other people. Right. So like, I got all that time back.
I think that when I bring it up, and I think you nailed the answer on that, is the relationship side, the emotional side. And that's the one thing that I want to continue to echo in a big way to our industry right now, is that it's about how you use it. It's not about how you make it separate you from the people that you deal with. I was recently hosting a dinner. I was moderating the dinner. I was brought in to kind of just, we were there 2 hours, a VIP dinner, top producers. And I hammered in on this and I did the whole thing of who is real estate going to hate. And we got to the topic of AI and it was like, okay, let's talk about AI. People talked about the integration and how they use it and what they do with it and how much time they spend using it and learning it and everything else. And we never, like, I kept pushing to get to the answer of, yeah, but what are we doing to battle it? And at the end of the day, when we came back to this fact that it's about the relationship, it's about the experience we provide, that right there is what AI cannot do. And as you know, the more people that remember that, and the more people that implement that and believe that and say, okay, yes, I'm going to integrate, but I'm not going to allow it to get in between me and the people. That's where we save ourselves. That's where we remain relevant in 10 years from now, Andrew, is my belief.
Yeah.
Because now it's, yes, I leverage it, but it doesn't get in between what I do. Because otherwise it gets to a point where it does take over your world and agents aren't needed anymore. I mean, you and I could literally go into any one of these platforms right now and say, hey, teach me how to sell it. Not that we don't know, but like, let's say the average Joe, teach me how to sell my house right now. It'll walk you through it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the easiest, but it'll walk you through it.
A lot of where I think the advantages are coming from AI is taking the complicated side of tech and making it simple, right? Like even Zapier is very overwhelming for a lot of people of how to connect things. Whereas now you could even do it voice mode in some tools and just be like, hey, can you just get all these Facebook lead forms? I want them to go into my CRM and trigger a drip campaign that talks about why they should hire me. And then it goes and does the work, sends it to you for approval. You approve. You go. You don't have to sit there wasting hours of like, okay, but what's the integration? Okay, what's the API key? How do I figure out that?
Yeah, it's tough.
And like that stuff is a great thing to get rid of, especially quickly. Like that's similar to this building those little tools on Lovable. Like there's so many really cool use cases where like you could in minutes customize a listing presentation website for every listing presentation you go on with very little extra effort. And like you could have a perfectly designed, customized listing presentation for each individual client. And that would take no extra time at all with very little technical ability.
So a message then. Give me a message. What would you say to anybody right now when we talk about it? Because I'll tell you, I think there's some fantastic things you could do, and I don't even think we're there yet. Like I think that there's so much more coming, and it's not a, you know, is it going to happen? Is it going to stick around? It's here. It's happening. It's happening right now. Again, what I'm seeing is a lot of agents who are putting it in between a lot of the connection point of why an agent is still needed. And I'm trying to, you know, really say to the industry, just remember what you do for a living, you know, and remember that the more you integrate it, potentially the less you seem relevant and the less you seem needed. And we've got to be very cognizant of that. So in playing to that message, what might you say to the industry then too, from a cautionary perspective per se?
Don't automate interactions with your clients. Automate what gives you more time with them. A lot of people like to avoid, like they use AI to do the things they don't like doing, which is picking up the phone. Whereas you look at the people who are successful. Like I'll give you a great example. I had Mark Ferris. I interviewed him for something. And I was like, what makes you different? You did 1,000 deals, 1,700 deals a year, 1 year. What makes you different than the other agent? And his example and his answer was perfect, which is nothing. I just do the boring stuff consistently. The phone, he looks at everything and he just does it consistently. And when you really get your business humming, a lot of the day-to-day can be boring. Because it's just the same thing, but that's what works. And if you can then use AI to like take those boring things and make them easier, so you have more time where it matters at like the leverage points, do it.
Okay, let's go quick hit now. Okay, quick hit because we're watching the clock here.
Yeah.
Real quick, commission compression. Is it real? Is it a real threat? Is it overblown? Thoughts?
Overblown. I have had a client recently who upped his commission over 7%. He offers a lot of value for that. I think if you are like, there is always pressure on price, but there's been pressure on price since the 1950s and before. It's a known problem. Like people want to charge the highest you can. They want to charge it. If you're getting a lot of pressure and you haven't proven your value yet, that you're worth that number. Okay, and a lot of people have never looked at the number they charge objectively and said, why am I charging that number? Right? Like, can you look at it and say like, well, my costs are this is the profit I want to make per deal. This is what I need to charge to do all the things I want to do to run my business. Because maybe what you're charging now isn't actually, maybe you should be higher. Maybe you should be lower.
Listen, We did the MindShare Collective, our monthly webinar yesterday in our group coaching platform. And one of our coaching members mentioned, he goes, yeah, I've got 77 different reasons why I'm worth that money. And we went, battle that. You battle one, you still got 76 more. So you're bang on is have a reason why.
Like, I'll give you an example with even like the Just Sell Home side with like running Facebook ads for realtors. Like, I can tell you, if you come through my marketing how I want you to come through my marketing, you don't talk to me about price. You just come on and say like,
right,
when can I start? Essentially, like a lot of my sales calls are like the come list me equivalents. But I know if someone comes to me because like someone's like, oh, you should check this out, they've never heard of me, they don't believe the value yet. They haven't seen it. So like that becomes a marketing problem. So like for me, if you're getting a lot of pressure, it's a marketing problem.
Prove your value. I used to have a mentor that said to me that if you're battling price, it means you haven't proven your value yet.
Yeah, which is a marketing problem.
Teams versus solo agents, who survives these next 5 to 10 years?
I think you'll have both in 10 years. I don't think that'll change. I think brokerage models might change more than teams or solo agents.
Okay, that takes me to the next one. Are most broker owners actually good business people?
No.
What would you say to anybody who says, I can't?
Depends what they're saying it to. I'm always at it depends. There's so much nuance and stuff. Which I know is the boring way to answer questions.
I told you not to.
At the end of the day, you can just do things. Like, I'll give you an example. I was at when I was selling real estate, we were sitting around a table and everyone was talking about power of sales. How do you even get it? Like, how does this process even work? And like there's like 4 or 5 of them around the table, just going on and on about like how it's crazy you even get a power sale listing from the bank and do all this. I was just in the room and I wasn't in the, I just closed my laptop, drove to the bank, said, can I speak to the manager? And I ended up partnering with the bank, getting to host days. I did first time buyer seminars with them. Like, just, you can just do, I love that lie that's big on Twitter. Like, you can just do things. Like, the other day, pick up the phone and call. Like, the amount, like, I get told no all the, like, the amount of crazy ideas I've pitched to businesses and companies and things like that. Like, the amount of rejections I've had. But I'm like, for me, it's funny. I'm like, okay, but if one of these lands, like, I didn't think I was going to be able to get REM when I reached out to them. Like, I was competing with some like very big companies to buy REM that have like way bigger budgets than me. And so I was like, I'll throw my hat in the ring, and like, worst case, it goes nowhere.
And look at this.
We ended up with it. Like, once in a while, you can just do things.
You know what though, man? I like the answer because I'm with you. I believe it. Ask the question. You're going to get told no a lot of times, but somebody's going to say yes somewhere, and it's going to nail. It's going to hit. It's going to land. And people are going to ask you, how'd you do it? It's going to be like, I asked.
That monthly column I told you about in the newspaper.
Yeah.
The top producer in our town, who was the biggest advertiser in the newspaper, complained to them when he saw my article published. He's like, wait, why don't I have this? And they're like, he asked.
It's that simple. And that is really the magic to so much. I can say for sure for me, so much of what I do, I'll say it, I'll ask it, and then we'll see where it goes.
I'm fine if someone tells me no. I just ask it in a way where it's not painful for them to say no either.
Well, speaking of that then, how do you know at the end of the day, when you wrap up your day, that it's been a successful day for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I've never thought about that. I mean, I look at, there's like a couple different answers. Like, at the end of the day, I try not to think about work because I'm with my kids. So I just, if I'm not thinking about work when 5 o'clock hits, then I'm having a good day. That means I'm fully there. But if something's spilling over, it means there's something left to like tick. The like kind of less fun answer would be like, did I shorten or grow my to-do list today? Because you've had those days where like you felt like you got a lot done, but then your to-do list is actually longer by the end of it. And you have those other days where you've just sailed through and nothing got added, and those are great days. But at the end of the day, like for me, if it's like I don't carry it past work, I'm pretty happy.
Not a single person ever uses the word money when I ask that question. Surprising though, isn't it? Like the
I
good.
mean, I have some pretty great days if we pull in a big record breaker.
I'm not, as I've said many times, I'm not trying to downplay money. I love money, and yes, the more money I make in a day, I am a much happier guy. Truth be told, though, when you ask people about that word right there, how do you know it's been a successful day? People don't say because I made money or I did a deal today. Oftentimes, there's a lot of really deep answers, and yours went right to the children, which family is absolutely everything.
Exactly.
Andrew, just before we sign off here, and I know that you're getting on a webinar, and anybody that is watching us live, make sure that you go to where first. I was going to say any final words of wisdom that you want to share. Where can people contact you? Is there anything you want them to know about? And please do feel free. Obviously, this is going to go. This is live today. It's going to be syndicated on all the big channels on Friday, so it's going to be after your mastermind happening today. However, feel free to share with our audience.
Yeah, I mean, Real Estate Magazine, get our newsletter, read our content. It's really all I want. If you want help with your Facebook ads, go to justsellhomes.com. Otherwise, final message, be like, kind of just what we said before. You can just do things. Like a lot of people have this like block in their head of like, but like that person's really special. That's why they were able to do that. It's like, no, like you can just do things. You can one of my first deals I ever got was I just went up to the top producer in my office and was like, can I have your extra leads? And they're like, what? I was like, I mean, you probably have leads you aren't working. Can I have them? And he's like, yeah, this one's 40 minutes outside of town. I don't want to deal with it. Here, go. That was my first deal. Like people were like, you shouldn't do that. I was like, my first listing I got 100% on my own. I took a Kijiji lead for a $700 a month basement apartment for a lease. And when I was showing her boyfriend came to make sure she was going to be safe with this random agent that was there. And while she was looking around, him and I were chatting, and he mentioned in a couple of months he was going to sell. I was like, can I follow you up? He's like, sure. Like, you're actually going to follow up.
Yeah, right.
Like,
he did.
Give me your info. And then I called him. He's like, oh, I remember you're actually following up. I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, no, got a deal for you.
Fortune is in the follow-up, as they say.
Yeah. And my system back then was an Excel spreadsheet in my calendar.
Look at that. And it still worked. Yeah. You mean you didn't have AI and Facebook and everything else, and it's still you still real estate?
Nothing. Oh, wow. If I could go back to that guy and give him the tools I had today,
where you would be, eh?
The fun, like the amount of time I spent learning how to like move a pixel to the right.
See, I never did that. I just asked you. Oh man, I'm gonna let you go. I know you got to rock. You got another event to get to. A big thank you for joining me on the show once again. I know it's been multiple times, and as well, although we are in the middle of February, for helping us kick off the year with a real, what I'd say is, if I say hard hitting, tell it like it is episode. I don't know if we got as jarring as maybe we could have, but I think that there's a lot of topics that we covered today. We really ran the gamut from all different levels of real estate. And I can't thank you enough for making the time to be here today, for the insights that you shared. It was definitely a really, really good look behind the curtain. So Andrew, thank you very, very much, man.
Appreciate it. That was fun. And I'll see you soon.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
See you, bye.
All right. Well, I would leave you with this. Okay. You just heard from somebody who sits in rooms that most agents never actually see. And whether you agreed, disagreed, whether you found insights or liked what Andrew just said or not, I think there was a lot of amazing things that he just shared. One thing's got to be very clear is that the world keeps changing, the industry keeps changing, and the people that aren't making the right moves and doing the right things, they find out the hard way. When we think about technology, we think about the fact that it's a relationship business, the relationships, connectivity, connecting with other people. There's your big go-to, so look, if I think about some of the takeaways and I go, if you're an agent, don't choose an office, don't choose a broker or even a conference just because it looks cool, right? Really dig deeper, find the real value behind, who you choose to work with, whether it's, again, the brokerage, the conference, the coaching company, the clients. Andrew was very specific about that, find your people. And I think it's a very strong message, because we do look at the fact that we just try to pick up anybody and everybody where we can, because like it's an opportunity, but those opportunities don't always, net back the biggest return on investment for us. So we want to be very careful about that. Again, and always think people business, much the same if you are a broker. My message, and I think the message that we even took here today and that Andrew shared with us was, stop trying to think you could do it all yourself. You know, stop thinking that training is just an expense. Focus on your agents, focus on the ones you have, not just trying to find new ones. Support the people that are there, make them better. I mean, he told you about how his broker once upon a time stood up for him, and like, to him, that's gold. He'll never turn back from that. The better they are, the better you are. And like any business, hey, you need to invest in it. So look, you know how I say it, straight up. We say it real. You know where it comes from, though. You know it comes from the heart. And I'm real because somebody needs to be. We talk about the things that need to be talked about, and that's why people win. Okay, no sugarcoating. As Andrew was just saying again, just ask, just do it. Just make action, right? Do something. To win in this world, it really does take real conversation, and it takes real hard work. There's no sugarcoating to that. Anyhow, I'm David Greenspan, reminding you all to build MindShare because it equals market share. And as always, a huge thank you to our sponsors, Kits Keep in Touch Systems and REM Real Estate Magazine, for sponsoring this episode of the MindShare podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I will catch you next week.